You wake up and you open your eyes. Okay, great. This is a good first start to the day. And look at that. You woke up prior to the alarm ringing. You're really starting the day on a good note. You think. But then you realize you can't turn your head. You can't move your arms. In fact, it's like you're frozen. You are frozen. You can't move. Does this sound familiar? You're now entering Dreamland. Hi everyone, my name is Stacy Axler, and I'm the host of Now Entering Dreamland. This is a podcast that deals with dreams, sleep, and everything in between. And I'm very excited because this is the first episode of Now Entering Dreamland. Now Entering Dreamland will sometimes comprise of interviews with people about their dreams and their sleep and some dream analysis. And that's exactly what happens in episode 2, which is being released at the very same time as episode 1. So after you finish listening to this, you can start listening to a new episode that features a dream analysis interview. But for the very first episode of Now Entering Dreamland, I wanted to talk, just me, about something straight from the heart, which is sleep paralysis. I say straight from the heart because I have been experiencing sleep paralysis since I was about 15. So, half my life, I've had sleep paralysis. I have no warm feelings about sleep paralysis. Actually, I find it frankly scary and, at this point, annoying. Because while it is really jarring when you can't move your body when you wake up, at this point, I've had so many bouts of sleep paralysis, I'm mostly just frustrated. And I'll be honest, when I wake up in the morning, I usually really have to pee. So anything that stops me from heading to the bathroom angers me. The first time I had sleep paralysis was when I was in high school, young high school. And I was dealing with a lot of sleep issues at that time, which is something I'll go into during this podcast. When I was a teenager, it really kind of restarted a bunch of sleep issues I had as a toddler that for a few years kind of lay dormant and then started up again. That included sleepwalking, some night terrors, talking in my sleep, and sleep paralysis, which happened for the first time. It's one of those things that you always hear the word sleep paralysis thrown around, I think, but until you've actually experienced it, it's hard to know what it is. But for me, at least, when I was 15, I woke up one day, tried to get out of bed, and I couldn't. I was frozen. It was literally like I was frozen in time, except I knew time was passing. In fact, I actually thought that hours were passing, though it turned out to only be a few minutes. It was scary and it was intense, but the second I was able to move, I started moving and then I realized, oh yeah, okay, this must be sleep paralysis. This is literally what it was. I couldn't move. As an adult now, my sleep paralysis manifests in 2 different ways. And I'll talk about the first one, which is the more common one now. I wake up, it's usually the middle of the night. And timing is hard to tell because, and this might sound babyish, but I'll be honest, I sleep with the lights on. I have for a while. It just makes me feel better. So the light's on, but I still kind of have a sense that it's the middle of the night. But I try to get up, and I can't. I can't move. Again, when this happens now, I get pretty frustrated, but it's also an initial rush of panic. Even though this might have been the 60th, 70th time I've had sleep paralysis in my life, it still is really shocking and jarring, and it doesn't make sense, and I hate it. I want to move, and I can't. And I have this foreboding sense that something is wrong. Something is really wrong. The way that my bed is positioned now, it is across from my closet. My closet has a sliding door that opens on a latch. And I usually leave the door open. And you might be asking yourself, why? Well, I don't really have a good reason, except I kind of like being able to look into all the nooks and crannies in my room. I'd rather see something than not see it, if that makes sense. But typically, when I have sleep paralysis now, when I wake up and I can't move, I look in my closet and I see something. A figure. And even though I know my logical brain is buried somewhere in there, my fear tells me that something is in my closet and that something is a person. And I know that person is not there for a good reason. I can't see the person's features, but I can see their outline. It looks like they're moving. And then I'm panicked. I need to get out of bed. I need to get away from this person. I don't know why this person's here. I don't know how this person got into my closet. I don't know why they're in my closet. I also have really cool stuff in my closet, like birthday gifts from my relatives. So I don't know why they're in my closet. But I can't move. And then my brain is stuck in this conundrum. And the conundrum is, if I don't move fast enough, the person in my closet is going to get me. It will just end. It will stop. I'm able to move, and I'll usually jump out of bed, run out of the room, run into my living room, and sit on my couch. And then I try to relax. I take some deep breaths. But even though I'm out of my room, even though I'm probably drinking some water at this point, it takes a while for me to shake that there's not someone in my room. There's not someone in my closet. How would someone get in my closet? I'm looking at the front door is still locked. It doesn't make sense, but it takes a while for that logical part of my brain to realize what's happening. It's very frustrating. It's very annoying. The second type of sleep paralysis I have is a little less common, but it does still happen. And that is, I usually sleep on my side. And the reason I do that is because when I was a kid, I took things literally. And if I'm going to be honest with you all, I should say this, as an adult, I still take things very literally. And someone when I was a child told me that phrase, waking up on the wrong side of the bed. And I took that to heart. I really thought there was a right side and a wrong side of the bed. And I thought that the actual right side of the bed was the right side to be on, and the left side was the wrong side. So ever since I was about 4, I always would sleep on my right side, on the right side of the bed, facing the right wall. And I've done that since I was a kid. I still like sleeping that way. But I move around a lot in my sleep. I don't usually end up in the morning still on my right side. But sometimes I'll wake up and I am still on my right side. And occasionally, not all the time, but occasionally when that happens, I'll wake up, and again, I can't move. I'm having another episode of sleep paralysis. I can't move. And this is really frustrating, honestly, because usually when you sleep on your side, one of your arms is getting crushed by the weight of your body. So not only do I have to pee in these instances, usually I want to move because I'm a little uncomfortable, but I can't. I'm facing the wall, and I see, out of the corner of my eye, all of these bugs. And they're not just any bugs, they're cockroaches. And I'm just going to say this. I'm not one of those people who dislikes bugs. But I feel like a pretty normal person in the fact that I don't love them either. I don't want them in and around my space. Am I afraid of them? I would say no, I'm not afraid of them, but I definitely don't like them. My point is this. I see all these bugs. And it's not just 3. It's an infestation. And it's crawling out of this crack in my wall. All of these cockroaches are crawling out, and they all are crawling towards me. And then I get panicked because they're coming closer and closer to me. They're crawling on the carpet, on the ceiling, on the wall. And I just know for a fact that if they get close enough to me, they're going to start climbing on the bed, and then they're going to touch me. And I don't want these cockroaches to touch me with their cockroach legs and their cockroach antennas. I don't know what the plural of antenna is, and I'm too stubborn to look it up. So, whatever the plural of antenna is, I don't want it in and around or touching my person. So I'm just trapped there in bed, freaking out that these cockroaches are going to start crawling on me. It's like a really bad episode of Fear Factor. I don't know if anyone here used to watch the show Fear Factor. I used to watch it all the time. I was mesmerized by it because it was so creepy. People would do these things where they would let bugs crawl on them. I would never do that. But, like usual, at some point my body regains control of itself, and I'll sprint up out of bed, out the door, into my living room, and even so, it takes me a little while to realize there were no cockroaches. I, knock on wood, am not having an infestation. So what does this all mean? Well, I was doing some research into this for this episode. Thank you, WebMD. And I found out some things. One is that you're most likely prone to have a sleep paralysis episode if you're sleeping on your back or on your stomach. And that actually makes a lot of sense to me because I would say of all my sleep paralysis experiences that I've had, most of them do take place when I'm on my back. Occasionally, as I said, I will experience it when I'm on my side, on my right side, but most of the time it is when I'm on my back. But I feel like that's something very much out of my control. As I said, I move around a lot in my sleep. So even if I made it a point of not sleeping on my back, I think I would just eventually lie on my back anyway. I really don't remember falling asleep on my back on purpose all that often. So I don't know how to fix that problem. Another thing I learned is that a lot of people who have episodes of sleep paralysis, they feel this intense, immense weight on their chest. They feel like something or someone is actually pulling them, pushing them down, weighing down their chest, and that's why they can't move. And even further, some people see a figure sitting on them, like a demonic figure. And honestly, if you experience that, my hat goes off to you because I'm creeped out enough by this figure in my closet. I can't imagine how I would feel if I woke up not able to move and I saw something physically on top of me. I think I can't imagine it. Sometimes when I have sleep paralysis, it takes me what feels like hours, but in reality is only a few minutes for me to move. But sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes, when I experience it when I'm on my side, I wait for the gravity of the world. That's a really ill-phrased sentence, but it's true. The world does have gravity. To take my arm and drag it, to the bottom of the bed. Because I know that if a part of my body starts moving, the rest of my body will remember how to move. I think it's very interesting to take stock of your body that way. Like knowing that if you can just move one little part of your body, if you can make a fist or ball up your hand or move even your fingers, maybe then you can get out of your sleep paralysis. It's happened to me. So I don't want to say my case is the be-all, end-all case of sleep paralysis, but I have experienced that. At this point, I just want to say, if you're listening to this podcast, do you experience sleep paralysis? Do you also see a creepy person in your closet? If so, there is a comment box feature of this podcast, and I would love to hear from you, hear more about your sleep paralysis, things that you experience. It's very fascinating to me. This has been episode 1 of this podcast, Now Entering Dreamland. And I've been your host, Stacey Axler. If you've liked this, episode 2 is a much longer episode all about dreams and dream analysis. And if you're interested in dreams at all, I think you would really get a kick out of it. Are you feeling some heaviness behind your eyes? You might be going to sleep. You're now leaving Dreamland.